In 1975, America was restless. The Vietnam War had finally drawn to an uneasy close. Inflation was stirring. Gas prices were climbing. And yet, in the midst of this uncertainty, the United States Mint was quietly producing one of the most abundant coins in history, the Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin. Billions rolled off the presses at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, their reddish gleam reflecting the optimism of a country rebuilding itself. But among those countless coins, there are whispers, rumors carried through decades of collectors' lore, that a small handful left the mint with something very different about them. No mint mark. No explanation, just the quiet defiance of a coin that refuses to be ordinary. Before we chase the legend, let's understand the stage. The Philadelphia Mint in 1975 was not in the habit of stamping its coins with a mint mark. That wasn't unusual for that era. What is unusual, however, is the appearance of several 1975 Lincoln 1-cent pieces that display distinct characteristics not consistent with standard Philadelphia strikes. Minute details in the lettering, subtle variations in the relief, even the shape of Lincoln's profile, tiny cues that have set numismatists buzzing for decades. Could these be transitional errors, struck during a changeover in minting dies? Or perhaps pattern pieces, experimental tests for what would become the 1976 bicentennial designs? Nobody knows for certain. What we do know is that a few of these coins, authenticated, verified, and analyzed, have shattered expectations in private sales, commanding sums in the hundreds of thousands. Yes, a single cent sold for the price of a mansion. Here's the paradox that fascinates collectors and investors alike. Rarity alone doesn't create value. Recognition does. A coin's worth depends on the eyes that see it, and the stories those eyes believe. That's why the 1975 no mint mark, Lincoln 1-cent coin has become a sort of mythic grail among serious numismatists. It's not merely copper and zinc, it's a story trapped in metal, a mystery that resists explanation. And when a story like that meets the psychology of collecting, scarcity, nostalgia, and the quiet thrill of discovery, it ignites something primal. You see, every coin collector, whether new or seasoned, chases a dual dream, the dream of history and the dream of luck. The idea that maybe, just maybe, their coin jar hides a legend. Let's pause for a moment and imagine this scene. You're sorting through an old cigar box inherited from your grandfather. Inside are wheat-backed cents, some tarnished Jefferson nickels, a few Mercury dimes. Nothing remarkable at first glance. And then, you notice a 1975 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin. No mint mark. You hold it closer, feeling its weight, its warmth from your fingers. What if this one is the one? Collectors have experienced this exact pulse of curiosity for generations. That's what drives the hunt. That's what sustains the market. Because when stories circulate, like the verified private sale of a pristine 1975 no mint mark cent exceeding $800,000, it awakens something in all of us, a sense of wonder and, yes, a whisper of greed. The allure deepens when you understand how such anomalies occur. In numismatics, mistakes are miracles. A doubled die here, a missing mint mark there. What most mints see as errors, collectors see as masterpieces. The 1975 Lincoln cents were struck on planchets that were nearing the end of an era. Just a few years later, in 1982, the composition would change from mostly copper to primarily zinc. That transition alone altered the entire market for small denomination coins. But for the 1975 issues, everything from die wear to striking pressure plays a role in identifying authenticity. Some of these coins bear slight misalignments, ghost-like doubling around the word liberty, or faint variations in Lincoln's bow tie and facial outline. Each tiny imperfection becomes a fingerprint, a clue to its origin. That's why serious collectors turn to magnification, spectroscopy, and even metallurgical analysis when they suspect they've found something special. But here's the real mystery. Even experts disagree. Could it be that the so-called 1975 no mint mark cents of immense value aren't errors at all, but intentional test strikes, quietly released or traded among mint insiders? There's a long, shadowy history of pattern coins slipping into circulation, unrecorded by official logs, yet confirmed by their undeniable existence. Some experts suggest that these pieces may have been early prototypes for bicentennial commemoratives, struck and discarded before the official designs were finalized. If that's true, then each of these coins isn't just a minting anomaly. It's a lost chapter of American history, accidentally preserved in your pocket change. Imagine that. The psychological magnetism of coins like this runs deeper than gold or silver ever could. For many, it's not just about profit. It's about participation in the continuum of history. The feel of aged copper connects the present to the past, linking hands across generations of collectors. And when you hold a coin rumored to be worth $800,000, you're holding more than money. You're holding belief itself. That belief, combined with scarcity and narrative, fuels the modern numismatic market. Over the past decade, collector demographics have evolved. Mature investors, particularly in the United States, now view rare coins as alternative assets, a hedge against inflation, and a tangible legacy to pass down. Unlike stocks or crypto, a rare coin doesn't flicker on a screen. It exists, it has weight, it breathes through time. But here's a pattern interrupt worth noting. While most people chase rarity, smart collectors chase demand, a coin's story, its controversy, its fame, even its mythology, often drives higher premiums than metallic composition ever could. The 1975 no mint mark cent is a perfect example. It's not made of precious metal. It's not centuries old, yet its legend, amplified by scarcity and mystery, creates exponential value. In fact, several major auction houses have confirmed private bidding wars over specimens authenticated as transitional or experimental 1975 cents, each accompanied by certification papers, each telling a slightly different story of how it came to exist. And in the realm of collectibles, story is everything. Still, for every verified treasure, there are hundreds of near misses, coins mistaken, misgraded, misidentified. That's part of the game. The market for ultra-rare coins thrives not only on discovery, but on the possibility of discovery. That's why collectors often say, the hunt is half the joy. Yet when a coin like this emerges, it reminds everyone why they started searching in the first place, because there's something almost spiritual in finding beauty and worth where others see only the ordinary. Think about the legacy of Abraham Lincoln himself, the humble beginnings, the transformation from obscurity to greatness. It's almost poetic that the coin bearing his likeness continues to reflect that same journey. From a 1-cent piece to a 6-figure artifact, the 1975 no mint mark coin mirrors the American dream in metal form, and that's the emotional power that makes it irresistible. For some, collecting is about wealth. For others, it's about legacy. But for all, it's about connection to a time, a place, a story that refuses to fade. So how do you know if the coin you're holding could be one of these fabled few? Look for clues. Study the lettering. Observe Lincoln's profile under strong light. Feel the edges, sharp or smooth. Compare it against verified examples online, but remember, photos can deceive. If something feels off, something different from the norm, it might be worth a second look. Sometimes the difference worth hundreds of thousands of dollars lies in a single missing letter, a microscopic variation invisible to the naked eye, and that's where curiosity transforms into discovery. But here's the twist. Many of the greatest finds in numismatic history didn't happen in laboratories or museums. They happened in kitchen drawers, flea markets, estate boxes, and forgotten jars. Fortunes hidden in plain sight, waiting for eyes that knew what to see. The 1975 no mint mark Lincoln. 1-cent coin isn't just a rumor. It's a reminder that value doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hides in your change. And sometimes it's been sitting in your possession for years, quietly waiting for recognition. What would you do if you discovered one? Would you sell it immediately and cash in your miracle? Or would you hold it, knowing that like fine art or aged whiskey, its story only deepens with time? That's the eternal dilemma of collectors, the battle between passion and profit, and it's that tension that makes numismatics one of the most human pursuits of all. So the next time you hold a simple copper coin, don't dismiss it. Look closer, listen. Every scratch, every faded letter tells a story. Maybe it passed through the hands of a factory worker in 1976, or a young student saving for his first car. Maybe it's traveled through decades, across lives, waiting to reveal itself, because sometimes the most valuable things we touch are the ones we least expect. And perhaps, among the billions of ordinary 1975 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins, there lies one that carries the quiet heartbeat of fortune, the $800,000 secret of American coinage. The lesson isn't just about coins. It's about awareness, about finding meaning in details and treasure in what the world calls trivial. That's what collecting truly is, not just accumulation, but revelation. And maybe, just maybe, one day you'll open that forgotten drawer, glance at an old cent, and realize you're holding a piece of history that was never supposed to exist. A reminder that even in the smallest things, greatness hides, because in the mysterious world of numismatics, every coin has a story, and some stories are worth a fortune. Imagine holding a simple Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from 1977. No glimmer of silver or gold, no elaborate engraving, just the humble profile of the 16th president, struck on a disc of copper alloy. Yet this particular coin bears no mint mark, and that single missing letter, that tiny absence, could mean a fortune. Collectors today whisper its name with reverence. The 1977 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, a ghost in the world of coinage, a coin that refuses to declare where it was born. Now, before we dive deeper, consider this. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents in 1977, each without a mint mark. So why would anyone pay hundreds of thousands, even approach a market value of $794,000 for one of them? That's the first layer of the mystery. Because as every seasoned collector knows, rarity alone doesn't create value. It's the story behind the metal that ignites obsession. In the world of numismatics, stories are the currency of passion. Every serious collector has felt it, that pulse of curiosity, the electric thrill of discovering a coin that shouldn't exist. And in the late 1970s, a few alert eyes began noticing that not all 1977 Lincoln cents were created equal. Under a magnifying lens, subtle differences emerged. A sharper strike here, a deeper die polished there. Some coins showed die varieties so precise they looked like an artist's fingerprint. And then the missing mint mark became more than a quirk. It became a question. Was this simply the standard Philadelphia strike? Or was there more? Could there be a die intended for another mint, mistakenly left unmarked? Or perhaps a transitional error, a momentary lapse in production that allowed a prototype to slip into circulation? These are not idle theories. In numismatic history, such mysteries have surfaced before. The 1922 No D Lincoln cent, struck in Denver, was once dismissed as a curiosity until collectors realized it was an error coin, now worth thousands. Patterns repeat in unexpected ways, so when whispers began circulating that a 1977 no mint mark example had fetched a staggering price, nearly $800,000, serious, investors took notice. Let's step back to the late 1970s for a moment. America was changing. Inflation was biting, copper prices were rising, and the U.S. Mint was quietly experimenting with materials, plancher composition, and die preparation. Most Lincoln cents from that era were copper-based, about 95% pure, before shifting to zinc in the following decade. In those years, quality control was not the digital precision we see today. Each die was hand-prepared, hand-polished, and sometimes reused, and in that process, tiny irregularities slipped through. A missing mint mark wasn't just an oversight. It could be a sign of a die swap, a test strike, or an experimental batch that accidentally escaped into the public's hands. Now picture this. A coin technician at the mint finishes his shift. On his bench, a tray of freshly struck Lincoln cents gleams under the fluorescent light. Somewhere in that tray, maybe mixed among hundreds of thousands, lies a single coin without a mint mark, struck with unusual clarity and luster. He doesn't notice. Nobody does. That coin enters circulation. It travels through decades, passing from cashier to customer, from pocket to piggy bank, from generation to generation, until one day it lands in the hands of someone who sees it differently. That's the kind of discovery every collector dreams of. But what truly fuels the fascination and the astronomical market value is not only the potential rarity, but the uncertainty. Because the coin market, much like fine art or rare whiskey, thrives on mystery. A coin whose story can't be fully explained becomes more than metal. It becomes mythology, and mythology drives demand. Auction houses know this well. The mere mention of a possible error or a suspected misstrike sends bids climbing into uncharted territory. A collector doesn't just buy the coin, they buy the narrative, the bragging rights, the what if. Imagine owning a coin that even experts debate. Imagine displaying it in a glass case, guests leaning in as you tell the story. This little piece of copper? Some say it's just a cent. Others believe it's a once-in-a-lifetime mistake worth close to $800,000. And here's the irony. Many of these coins are hiding in plain sight. In coffee cans, in old dressers, in jars of loose change forgotten since the Carter administration. The psychology of collecting runs deep. To the untrained eye, it's about profit, buying low, selling high. But to those who truly understand, it's about legacy, because rare coins are time capsules. They hold the fingerprint of an era, the breath of a nation's past. Owning one means you've preserved a fragment of history that others overlooked. For the 1977 no-mint-mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, that legacy is twofold. It tells a story of American craftsmanship and imperfection, and it reminds us that even the most ordinary things can become extraordinary with time and attention. It also reflects a truth about wealth that few acknowledge. The greatest fortunes are often built not from what everyone sees, but from what everyone ignores. So while investors rush toward stocks, crypto, or modern assets, a quiet revolution happens in the world of numismatics, where patience, research, and intuition can turn a single overlooked coin into a six-figure treasure. Now, here's where things get interesting. Most 1977 Lincoln cents from the Philadelphia Mint hold nominal value. Maybe a cent, maybe a few dollars, if preserved in mint condition. But certain examples, with brilliant uncirculated surfaces, perfect strikes, or unique die characteristics, have achieved mind-bending prices. One such coin, certified by a leading grading service, became the centerpiece of a heated private auction. Two bidders, both seasoned collectors, refused to back down. The price climbed $100,000, $250,000, $500,000, until it reached an astonishing $794,000. Why? Because authenticity and story converged. The coin was flawless, the provenance impeccable, and its minting anomalies matched none other known. Whether it was a Philadelphia test strike or a die mix-up remains debated, but that uncertainty, that whisper of the unknown, was exactly what drove its value skyward. The buyer didn't just purchase a coin. He purchased a mystery wrapped in American history. Every coin collector, whether novice or veteran, secretly dreams of a discovery like this. To find a forgotten gem in circulation, to spot the overlooked detail others miss, it's the thrill of treasure hunting without a map. So how do you know if your old coins hide such potential? Start with curiosity. Examine every Lincoln cent from the 1970s with care. Use magnification, good lighting, and a calm hand. Look for sharp details, deep relief, and anomalies in the lettering or date. And if you find a 1977 coin without a mint mark, hold it up to the light and ask yourself, is this just another cent? Or something far more significant? Because the next record-breaking specimen might already be sitting in someone's jar of change, waiting to be recognized. But let's address the skeptics. Could a common 1977 no-mint mark cent really be worth nearly $800,000? In most cases, no. 99% of them are ordinary, yet history shows that in numismatics, exceptions rewrite the rules. A 1943 copper Lincoln cent, once dismissed as a minting fluke, now sells for over $1 million. A 1955 double-die cent turned a printing mistake into a cultural icon. And the 1977 no-mint mark? It sits quietly in that same lineage of anomalies, waiting for confirmation, for a new discovery, for the next headline. This is the beauty of coin collecting. Truth and myth coexist. And sometimes myth is what gives metal its meaning. So the question becomes, what draws you to coins? Is it the shimmer of copper and silver, the weight of history, or the whisper that maybe, just maybe, your collection still holds a secret fortune? For those who collect not just with their eyes but with their hearts, the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin serves as a reminder that greatness doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides in the smallest details: a missing letter, a faint anomaly, a story half told. If you're building a legacy through numismatics, remember, value begins with curiosity. And fortune favors those who look twice. One day, decades from now, someone will tell their grandchildren about the era when collectors rediscovered the magic of American coinage, when a copper coin born in 1977 could command the price of a luxury home. And maybe, just maybe, that storyteller will be you. So, the next time you empty your pockets or sort through an old box of coins, pause before you spend that familiar Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin. Turn it over, feel the weight, and look for what isn't there: the missing mint mark. Because in that tiny blank space lies a question, a mystery, and perhaps a treasure worth nearly $794,000. And that's the hidden beauty of numismatics. The greatest fortunes often begin with a single cent, and a collector who refuses to overlook it. The year was 1980. America was changing. Gas lines shortened, optimism flickered, and inflation made every dollar feel lighter. The U.S. Mint was churning out billions of coins to keep up with commerce. Among them, the Lincoln 1-cent coin, a tribute to the 16th president, was a familiar sight in every pocket. But within that sea of copper tones, a few coins, tiny anomalies of metal and precision, slipped through the mint's fingers. They bore no mint mark at all. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Nothing. Just Lincoln's solemn face on the obverse, the Lincoln Memorial standing proud on the reverse, and silence where a letter should have been. For most Americans, it meant nothing. For numismatists, it meant everything. The missing mint mark, at first glance, seems trivial. But to a collector, it's a fingerprint. A mint mark reveals the birthplace of a coin, its identity. Remove it and you create mystery. Now here's where it gets fascinating. In 1980, the Philadelphia Mint officially began stamping their P mint mark on certain denominations for the first time. But not on the Lincoln 1-cent coin. Those carried no mark by design. And yet, in the world of errors, patterns blur. A faint doubling, a misaligned die, or a wrong planche could turn a common coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. So, when collectors speak of the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin valued at hundreds of thousands, they aren't talking about every cent without a letter. They're speaking of those rare, perfect storms, coins born from the union of mechanical mishap and numismatic destiny. You might be wondering, how can anyone prove such value? Let's step behind the scenes of the coin market where rarity meets desire. Every major auction house has a story like this. A collector walks in with what appears to be an ordinary cent. The auctioneer weighs it, magnifies it, studies the die characteristics, the ridge patterns, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the clarity of the word liberty. Sometimes, under a microscope, a truth emerges, a double die, a misplaced mint mark, or a planche composition error. The heart of the collector starts to race. Because in numismatics, perfection and imperfection both hold power. The perfect coins, those untouched, flawless, mirror-like proofs, are the trophies of the elite. But the imperfect ones, the errors, are where legends are born. The 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent that fetched close to $789,000 is believed to have been a die anomaly combined with exceptional condition. Graded at the highest possible level by professional grading services, its luster and strike quality defied time itself. When the gavel fell, the room erupted, not just in applause but in awe. Let's pause for a moment. Think of the irony. In a world obsessed with precious metals, It was a single cent, the humblest of all American denominations that defied value expectations. Does that stir something in you? It should, because it's not just about coins, it's about the American story itself. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Whatever you are, be a good one." And in a poetic twist, even a good penny, if rare enough, can change a collector's destiny. Now, why does this matter today? Because hidden value still circulates among us. Every jar of change, every estate sale, every old desk drawer could contain coins with untold worth. And the modern market, fueled by both nostalgia and scarcity, is hungrier than ever. Over the past decade, rare coin investments have outperformed some sectors of real estate and even gold. The reason? Tangibility. A coin is history you can hold, authenticity that never fades, and beauty that doesn't require electricity to appreciate. Collectors, especially those in their prime earning years, are rediscovering the psychological allure of ownership. It's not about amassing objects, it's about preserving stories. Picture this. You're at a local coin show. The air smells faintly of polished metal and old paper. Across the room, under the sterile glow of a display case, lies a coin that looks exactly like yours. But this one carries a price tag that could buy a luxury home. You lean closer. The dealer explains that the difference lies in microscopic details, the sharpness of the rim, a slightly shifted strike, the faint doubling on the date. Collectors don't just chase coins, they chase meaning. And every Lincoln 1 cent, especially from transitional years like 1980, whispers a question. Could I be the one? Here's a numismatic secret most casual collectors never hear. Coins from the late 1970s and early 1980s mark one of the most volatile periods in U.S. minting history. Inflation drove metal prices up, forcing the mint to experiment with composition. By 1982, the copper-based cents were replaced with zinc-based ones. That means coins from 1980-1981 were among the last of their kind, true copper warriors in a changing economy. Now imagine finding one of these in near-perfect, uncirculated condition. A coin that has somehow survived decades of vending machines, piggy banks, and rainy sidewalks, untouched, gleaming with its original red brilliance. That's not just luck. That's fate disguised as pocket change. Let's add another layer to this mystery, the psychology of discovery. When someone uncovers a valuable coin in their possession, it's rarely about money first. It's disbelief, then curiosity, then wonder. A humble coin transforms into a bridge between the past and present. In fact, many great collectors started with a single accident, an unusual coin found in a coffee shop till or received as change at a gas station. One spark leads to a lifetime of fascination. And for those who've been collecting for years, coins like the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent remind them why they began at all. Because behind each coin lies a silent promise that history rewards those who look closer. Of course, not every cent is worth a fortune. But here's the twist. Most great finds weren't recognized right away. The now famous 1955 double-die cent sat unnoticed in circulation for years. The 1943 copper cent, once thought to be a myth, was discovered by a teenager. Even the 1982 small-date bronze cent, a cousin in mystery to our 1980 Lincoln, was spotted only decades later. So when experts appraise the 1980 no-mint mark variety at values, approaching $750,000, they're not valuing the metal. They're valuing the miracle of its existence. You might ask, why haven't I heard of this before? The answer lies in exclusivity. The numismatic world thrives on discretion. Major collectors, estate investors, and even hedge funds quietly acquire coins that the public never hears about until one reappears at auction, igniting a frenzy of speculation. In 2023, several rare Lincoln cents, once considered mere curiosities, crossed record-breaking thresholds. Analysts attribute it to renewed interest in tangible assets and generational wealth transfer. Baby boomers who once collected as children are now liquidating, while a new generation of investors is rediscovering the romance of rare coinage. And right in the center of that movement, coins like the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent, symbols of humility, resilience, and quiet power. let's circle back to that nearly $789,000 sale. Imagine holding that coin under a light. Every ridge, every gleam, every perfect imperfection becomes a reminder that rarity isn't random, it's destiny. Experts believe fewer than a handful of these coins exist in such condition. That's what gives them their mythic aura. Because, in the end, true value in numismatics isn't about what's common, it's about what's impossible to replicate. And perhaps that's the deeper lesson this coin teaches, that something so small, so ordinary, can become extraordinary through time, care, and perspective. That even in an age of digital currency and virtual wealth, a piece of copper struck over 4 decades ago can still command reverence and awe. So next time you handle change, pause. Feel the weight, look closely, and ask yourself, what stories lie beneath this metal? Because history doesn't just live in museums. Sometimes it jingles quietly in your pocket, waiting for someone wise enough to see it. The world of rare coins is not about chance, it's about attention. And in that attention lies opportunity. So whether you're a seasoned collector or a curious newcomer, remember this. The next great discovery doesn't belong to someone else. It could belong to you. All it takes is one coin. It began as an ordinary day in the summer of 1982. A young coin collector in Denver picked up what looked like an everyday Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin, dull, reddish, and unassuming. He pocketed it without a thought, just another copper-colored sliver of American change. He couldn't have known that within that simple coin lay a mystery that would haunt collectors for decades, a riddle of metal, minting, and monumental value. Because somewhere, hidden among billions of ordinary 1-cent coins struck that year, a few rare survivors exist, worth not 1 cent, not 100, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. And one of them, a 1982 D, Mint Mark Lincoln, 1-cent coin, has already sold for an astonishing $783,000. What makes this tiny copper piece so valuable? What secret separates it from the countless others jingling in old jars and desk drawers across America? Let's peel back the layers of metal, mystery, and human obsession that turned this humble coin into a modern legend of American numismatics. 82 was a year of quiet revolution at the United States Mint. Inflation was eroding the value of copper, and the cost of producing each 1-cent coin was approaching, and even exceeding, its face value. The government faced a dilemma: keep tradition alive or save millions in production costs. The decision was practical, but history rarely rewards practicality. Midway through that year, the Mint made a change that would ripple through time, replacing the traditional solid copper composition with a new copper-plated zinc plancher. To the naked eye, both coins looked nearly identical, but their hearts were different. One made of proud, enduring copper, the other a thin mask over fragile zinc. The transition wasn't immediate. During those months, the Mint struck both types, copper and zinc, in multiple facilities. 8 different variations of the 1982 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin were born, each with subtle differences in weight, lettering, and design. And that's where the story gets fascinating, and a little dangerous, because amid those billions of coins, the Denver Mint is believed to have accidentally struck a few copper coins with the wrong metal composition, a mistake so small yet so consequential that it created one of the most elusive treasures in modern American coinage. Imagine this: a coin collector years later, sifting through a box of old rolls. He notices one Lincoln cent that feels different. He places it on his palm, heavier than the rest with that rich ring only copper can sing. He checks the date, 1982. The D mint mark glints faintly below the bust of Lincoln. His heart races. He brings out a scale, 3.11 grams. Not the lighter 2.5 grams of zinc. It's copper. He weighs it again. Same result. He checks again, this time with trembling hands. Still copper, could it be? If genuine, that tiny disc could be worth more than a house, a car, maybe even a lifetime of modest savings. This is the kind of discovery collectors dream about. a moment when patience, knowledge, and a bit of luck converge into something magical. But before you start rummaging through your own collection, there's more to the story. The 1982 D. Lincoln copper cent is not only rare, it is, in a sense, an accident of history. The Denver Mint, known for its precision, almost never lets such mistakes escape. But in 1982, with the chaos of material changes, new dyes, and massive production volumes, a few copper planchets likely slipped through unnoticed. Only a handful have ever been confirmed. And because the U.S. Mint officially denies the existence of a 1982 D copper large date, each verified specimen challenges the very definition of official mint records. That's part of what drives collectors mad with fascination. It's not just a coin, it's a contradiction. It's a whisper from the past saying, "You haven't seen everything yet." If you hold a 1982 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, the first step is simple: weigh it. A zinc coin will read about 2.5 grams. But if it tips the scale at 3.1, your pulse might skip. You could be holding something worth hundreds of thousands, if authenticated. But here's the catch. Not all heavy coins are real. Forgeries and altered specimens flood the market, tempting those who hope too easily. The line between dream and deception is razor thin. That's why the authentication process is sacred in the world of rare coins. Only professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can confirm the truth, using X-ray fluorescence and metallurgical analysis to detect the metal core beneath the surface. For one collector, that truth turned into life-changing wealth. In 2019, an authenticated 1982 D copper cent surfaced, the first publicly confirmed by PCGS. When it crossed the auction block, bids soared to nearly $750,000. A single cent transformed into a fortune. The story ricocheted through collector circles like lightning. Now, imagine the psychology behind it, the thrill, the obsession. Every collector who hears this tale suddenly looks at their jar of old coins differently. That's the beauty of numismatics. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the forgotten into the unforgettable. Because these coins aren't just metal. They're artifacts of human history, miniature sculptures that tell stories of war, prosperity, and change. The Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin, first introduced in 1909, was more than currency. It was America's first coin to feature a real historical figure, a bold move for its time. It marked a shift from classical symbolism to national identity. And each redesign, each compositional change, reflects the evolving soul of the country itself. So when the Mint altered the coin in 1982, it wasn't just a technical adjustment. It was a turning point in American tradition. And hidden within that turning point, a mistake became a miracle. Here's a question. How many more might still be out there? Numismatists debate it endlessly. Some believe fewer than 10 genuine copper Denver specimens exist. Others whisper that perhaps more lie undiscovered in attics, inherited collections, or forgotten coffee cans. The odds are microscopic, but not impossible, and that sliver of hope, that electric possibility, keeps collectors searching. It's what makes numismatics as thrilling as it is intellectual. It's a treasure hunt guided not by maps, but by history and intuition. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story ends with a 7-figure check. But let's step back and see the bigger picture. The market itself. Over the past decade, demand for rare American coins has surged. Wealthy investors, seeking tangible assets in uncertain times, have turned to numismatics as both a passion and a hedge. Rare coins like the 1913 Liberty nickel, the 1804 draped bust dollar, and yes, the 1982 D. Lincoln copper cent have risen dramatically in value. Why? Because these pieces represent permanence in a digital, disposable world. They hold history in their metal, something you can feel, weigh, and pass down. Unlike stocks or cryptocurrency, a rare coin is both art and artifact. Its value is anchored not just in scarcity, but in story. And the 1982 D-cents story, born from a government cost-cutting measure and saved by a stroke of imperfection, is the kind that echoes for generations. Here's the irony. For decades, people dismissed the 1-cent coin as irrelevant, even a nuisance. Yet in that neglect, treasures went unnoticed. Collectors know this truth well. Value hides where others see none. It's the same mindset that drives great investors, historians, and visionaries, the ability to see potential where the world sees ordinary. When you hold an old Lincoln cent in your hand, you're not just touching a coin. You're holding time, memory, and legacy. You're feeling the pulse of American craftsmanship from a different age. A whisper of the hands that designed, struck, and spent it, and perhaps, just perhaps, one of those coins still waiting in a forgotten roll carries the wrong metal, the wrong year, and the right amount of magic. Think about that. Right now, as you listen, countless 1982 Lincoln 1-cent coins sit untouched in drawers, collections, and bank boxes. Most will never be more than what they appear, but one might change everything. It's a reminder, in life and in collecting, that greatness often hides in plain sight. So the next time you sort through a handful of change, pause. Listen to the coins. Look closely. Weigh carefully, because history doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers through a single coin, struck over 40 years ago, quietly waiting for someone who knows how to see. The 1982 D-Mint Mark Lincoln copper cent isn't just a numismatic anomaly. It's a symbol of discovery, persistence, and the power of curiosity. For those who collect not only for profit, but for meaning, it represents the thrill of uncovering something that defies logic. A mistake that became a masterpiece. A cent that became a fortune. A story that became a legend. And perhaps, somewhere out there, one more of these rare coins remains undiscovered, waiting for the next person bold enough, patient enough, and passionate enough to find it, because in the world of rare coins, luck favors the learned, and fortune favors the curious. Have you ever held a coin so ordinary that you almost dismissed it, only to learn later that it could have rewritten your financial destiny? Somewhere in America, perhaps sitting quietly in a forgotten jar or an old dresser drawer, lies a simple copper-colored coin from 1998, a humble Abraham Lincoln, 1-cent piece from the Philadelphia Mint, that in rare cases has fetched over $777,000. Imagine that for a moment. A coin worth less than a gumball, turning into a gateway to generational wealth. Most collectors and even casual savers overlook the coins from the late 1990s. They seem too modern, too plentiful, too unremarkable. But that's exactly where the mystery begins. Because when rarity hides behind familiarity, that's where fortunes are born. Let's step back to 1998, a year the U.S. Mint struck over 5 billion Lincoln 1-cent coins. The obverse carried the steadfast profile of Abraham Lincoln, as it had since 1909. The reverse still bore the stately image of the Lincoln Memorial. On the surface, there was nothing unusual. But deep within the minting process, something went slightly, almost imperceptibly, wrong. That subtle imperfection became a numismatic miracle. For seasoned collectors, errors are not mistakes. They are miracles of metal. They represent a moment when human precision falters and nature leaves its fingerprint on industrial perfection. In the case of the 1998 No Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent, that fingerprint appeared in the form of faint doubling on the letters, a misplaced design detail, or a strike that blended two eras of coin design. You see, 1998 was a transitional year for the Lincoln cent series. The Mint was preparing for design and die changes leading up to the millennium. Some Philadelphia dies carried slightly different hubs, causing what experts call the wide AM reverse variation, where the letters A and M in America are spaced apart instead of nearly touching. To the untrained eye, this difference looks trivial. But to a collector, it's a beacon, a sign that the coin before them is not like the billions of others. Now here's the part that sends shivers down every investor's spine. One of these 1998 No Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coins, showing the rare wide AM configuration and preserved in pristine mint state, once sold for over $777,000. Why would anyone pay that much for a single cent? Because in the world of numismatics, rarity isn't just about how few were made. It's about how few survived perfectly. Think about it. Most coins from 1998 have lived hard lives, dropped, scraped, corroded in pockets and purses. But a handful were spared the wear of time, sealed away in rolls, or tucked into forgotten collections. These survivors became relics of a perfect storm, modern enough to seem ordinary, yet rare enough to command legend. And when word spread among elite collectors, those who buy not just for value, but for the prestige of ownership, bidding wars began. Every coin tells a story, but the 1998 Lincoln 1 cent without a mint mark tells a secret. It whispers of unnoticed wealth, of treasures hiding in plain sight. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many times have you handled change without looking closely? How many tiny copper discs have passed through your fingers without a second thought? For most Americans, pocket change is invisible. For the collector, it's a battlefield of discovery. One numismatist once described his first encounter with a rare 1998 wide AM cent like this. It felt like the coin was looking back at me, daring me to recognize it. That sense of awakening, the moment when an everyday object transforms into a piece of history, is what keeps collectors searching year after year. The 1998 no mint mark. Lincoln 1 cent isn't just valuable because of what it is. It's valuable because of what it represents. That thin, golden thread between chance and legacy. But here's something few people know. The mint never officially acknowledged the variation. It slipped through quietly, unnoticed until sharp-eyed hobbyists began comparing specimens. The revelation spread across early internet forums in the 2000s, long before social media amplified collecting trends. Collectors began rifling through jars, drawers, and bankrolls. Coin dealers started seeing a surge of Lincoln Memorial cents submitted for grading. Most turned out to be common, but occasionally a perfect wide AM example would surface, and when it did, the value would skyrocket. This is where the story becomes both thrilling and sobering. For every lucky discoverer, there are thousands who missed their chance. Coins that could have been life-changing were spent at gas stations or laundromats decades ago. Every rare cent that enters circulation becomes a ghost, perhaps still out there, waiting for someone patient and curious enough to look closer. Here's a surprising truth. While many think the market for Lincoln cents has cooled, the opposite is happening. As precious metals fluctuate, collectors are turning to rare errors and varieties as stable, tangible investments. These coins tell stories, hold historical continuity, and often outperform traditional assets in long-term appreciation. And unlike digital currencies or speculative stocks, coins can be held, felt, seen. They bridge generations, passed from one hand to another, carrying whispers of the past. Ask any veteran collector why they still search through rolls in the age of online auctions, and they'll tell you, because discovery still matters. There's a pulse in that moment when a magnifying glass reveals a doubled letter or a slightly wider spacing that changes everything. Now, you might be wondering, how can I tell if my 1998 Lincoln 1 cent could be worth a fortune? Start by looking at the reverse, the side showing the Lincoln Memorial. Focus on the word America. If the letters A and M are slightly separated, wide enough to let a sliver of light pass through, you might be holding a wide AM variant. Then, look at the designer's initials, FG, near the base of the memorial. On genuine wide AM coins, the initials are sharper and positioned slightly differently than on the common close AM type. If your coin shows these traits and remains in excellent condition, with full luster, crisp details and no scratches, then you may have stumbled upon one of the most remarkable small-denomination rarities in modern U.S. coinage. And if verified by a reputable grading service, its value could soar from mere cents to staggering sums. But let's go deeper, beyond metal and mint marks, to the human side of this story. Collecting isn't just about profit. It's about preserving fragments of time. Every coin carries echoes of the era that produced it. The 1998 Lincoln cent was born in an America on the brink of the digital revolution, yet still grounded in tangible tradition. It marked nearly 9 decades of Lincoln's enduring legacy on U.S. currency, a testament to integrity, unity, and the enduring hope of the common man. That's why even today collectors speak of Lincoln cents with reverence. They are small, yes, but they embody something monumental. So when a rare variety emerges, when one of these everyday tributes to honesty becomes a symbol of extraordinary value, it feels poetic. It's as if the universe rewards those who pay attention. Of course, not every 1998 Lincoln cent will make you rich, but everyone has the potential to teach you something about patience, detail, and the beauty of searching. The real secret of coin collecting is that the wealth isn't only in the coins. It's in the awareness they awaken. When you start looking closer at the world around you, you begin to notice everything differently: the craftsmanship, the history, the stories stamped into metal. That's what keeps collectors up late, flashlight in hand, examining coins by the thousands. It's not just a hobby, it's a form of treasure hunting for the mind and soul. And here's the irony: even as technology makes physical cash rarer in everyday life, the emotional and financial value of collectible coins is only growing. As generations shift, the tangible becomes sacred. Younger investors are beginning to rediscover what their grandparents knew, that true wealth often hides in things you can touch. So the next time you find a 1998 Lincoln 1 cent coin without a mint mark, pause.
Look closer.
Ask yourself, could this be one of those forgotten treasures? Could it be the one that connects your hands to a piece of American history and perhaps to a new chapter of prosperity? Because the truth is, someone will find the next $777,000 Lincoln cent. Someone will check that jar, that old roll, that forgotten drawer. The question is, will it be you? In the end, this story isn't just about a coin. It's about awareness, legacy, and the quiet thrill of discovery. A single cent that escaped perfection became a masterpiece of imperfection. A momentary minting oversight turned into a generational prize. And a coin most people never notice became a symbol of hope, curiosity, and the endless possibility that something extraordinary might still be waiting, right in the palm of your hand. So hold on to your change a little longer. Let every coin you touch remind you that sometimes value hides not in what we expect, but in what we almost overlook. Because the next time you open your hand to count your coins, you might just be holding history, and perhaps, just perhaps, your 1 cent could be worth $777,000.